I'm here to yap about Khora a little bit. She definitely has benefited from this update with the use that now she can use Arcanes on her Whipclaw, and she gets her own combo counter now. It feels really good. The utility I think definitely outweighs the big numbers we were hitting pre-patch. Obviously you can't use like a Riven to Magistar anymore, which I mean I got to experience it. The numbers you could hit on Khora and other frames were really silly with that kind of setup, but I think the utility we have now outweighs the high damage numbers because enemies die whether you're doing 1 mil or 5 mil. So the first thing I want to show off is my arcane melee exposure build. This is more for like sitting in one spot. You're doing a long survival or defense, and you are just need to do a lot of damage in one spot. I got a melee exposure on for the extra corrosive damage. I will say, Khora, she's an endurance queen. She wants to be in an excavation mission, a defense mission, or a survival mission for a really long time. With her augment mod, accumulating Whipclaw, her damage is supposed to scale and be there built up at the high end for a long time. She's not really like a flash damage, a lot of burst damage right now kind of character, but it's still respectable, and I still want to show it off. So first we have my melee exposure one here. We'll get all the extra corrosive damage. And I got corrosive, viral, and heat on here. Once again, it's still respectable, but if you look up top there on my buff bar, I'm at 210 out of 350 on my bonus melee damage from my augment mod. My combo multiplier was at 8 times at the end. So when you're in a mission, you're going to be sitting at 12 for a long time. You're going to be sitting at 350 bonus damage for a long time. It looks a lot better when you're doing an endurance mission, which is where I think Gara shines. As for the influence build, I think this is what you want to run if you're doing like a lot of base steel pass stuff really fast. Your sabotages, your exterminates. If you're running 1989, Legacite Harvest if you're not going to stay for a long time. I would run this influence build instead. And I forgot to chain these guys up. But I mean, this one's just as respectable as well. I think I should get about to 8 times combo again here. They perform similarly. Alright, they're very similar, but they have different caps. The first build I show you caps higher. And this one is just kind of for your speedrunning missions. You want the big AoE, you want to nuke as many trash units as possible. So those are my 2 builds there to show off. I won't get into them right now, because I think it's important we talk about Khora herself here first, and how to build her before I get into her Whipclaw. So, my upgrade screen here. The big thing I will say on Khora is you want lots of energy, and there are a lot of different options that I think are viable here. My favorite is Dispensary. I just love, when I play Khora, I'm farming a mission with her, whether it's excavation, defense, survival, like I said. I'm sitting in one spot. Dispensary just poops out energy orbs and health orbs for me, and it's very nice to just sit in your Strangle Dome, get free resources, and you're just chilling there. And I also have Primed Flow on to combo with that. Big energy pool. We're getting loads of energy from Dispensary. That feels very, very nice. As for another option, Gara's Helminth, her Spectrage mirrors, those are very good, and they have a similar radius to Strangle Dome. So when you use your 4 and that Hall of Mirrors, the Spectrage from Gara, all the enemies that die in the Strangle Dome will give you energy orbs, but you have to run the augment mod for that. So if you do run that Spectrage instead, I'd get rid of Augur Reach and put her augment mod on. Stretch would go down here, so you're using the polarity and whatnot. Third option, run Nourish, get rid of my overextended, and put in a strength mod somewhere. That's another option. And then obviously, we have good old Energize. This is what I run. I don't really need it, but I like to be capped on energy as much as possible. It's just kind of thing, I have it, free arcane slot, might as well use it kind of thing. That's why it's there for me. If you don't have Energize and you're looking for like an early game option to farm, I think Steadfast is a good replacement. You're spamming a lot, so that on ability cast, 20% chance to get the buff. actually procs a decent amount. I think that is definitely a good and viable option to use. On top of that, you could use Death Cube, the Sentinel, with his Augment Energy Generator. That is also a viable option. So that's the big thing out of the way, is energy generation on Khora. I enjoy the dispensary setup and chilling in one spot, farming my mission for a while. But everything else I mentioned, whether it's Gara Helminth, whether it's Nourish, whether it's getting an Energize here, I think are all viable options. Another combo that I think is okay, Energy Nexus and Dreamer's Bond are like cool. It's definitely not the best. It's definitely like a very early game way to get energy. And Zenuric, of course, the focus school. But I like having Naramon to keep my combo counter up on my Exalted Whipclaw there. So, what else is there to talk about here? Max range is what we got rocking. I think range is another important stat on Gara. It's very good for your end snare. You can wrap Acolytes in the Steel Path and stun them, and you'll also wrap all the other goobers around them. I think it's very important to have max range on your Strangle Dome, so you're CCing as many guys as possible. Khora is very squishy, so you do want to CC guys so you're not getting shot. It's kind of important. The 26 meter grab radius feels very nice, and it shares that radius with Ensnare. You know, they mod for the same amount of range, and I think it's very important to just have this much range on Khora. It feels good. It feels great. Sadly, the range, explosion radius on your Whipclaw no longer mods with range anymore. It mods with range on your melee weapon itself. So like things like spring-loaded blade and primed reach affect the AoE from this. But I don't think it needs it because you're sitting in your Strangle Dome to begin with. So it's just like, it's kind of a waste of a melee slot in my opinion, to put in range or spring-loaded blade. Especially if you're running the influence build, you're getting so much range and AoE from influence, that kind of thing. But yeah. As for why I'm running Augur Message here instead of like something like Constitution, I already have Augur Reach for max range, so I might as well capitalize on this. Like I said, Khora is pretty squishy. She might take a little bit of chip damage from a random grenade, a random bullet, random anything. So I think it's nice to keep your shields up with these two mods. And now the big thing that helps, because we're running negative strength, you're probably wondering, like, aren't you taking your damage by running negative strength? I say to you no, because we have accumulating Whipclaw. This builds up really quick, and it stacks up to 350% bonus damage. It feels great. It feels awesome. We're still hitting in for the millions when we're at like a 12 times combo. This is kind of like the cherry on top, the chef's kiss to like Khora builds in my opinion. So I think accumulating Whipclaw, must use augment here, and pilfering Strangle Dome. It's nice for loot. That's when I run Gara, is when I need extra loot, so this is always a slot for me. If you want to use her for just raw damage and whatnot, you could probably throw in a strength mod and get closer to 100% again, try to even it out. You could throw in another duration mod, so your Strangle Dome lasts longer. So that's that on Gara. Not much to say here. I've covered all the mods I'm using. This is a free slot. I just use whatever fits in my aura. There's not really much. I mean, Dreamer's Bond would be cool here. It really doesn't matter which one you run. Whatever. But I don't think there's any excellent D polarity things to run here. You could put an Omniforma in there and, really run whatever then. And as for our last free slot is an Arcane. Run whatever here. Run whatever you have that you think will help you with damage, with survivability, whatever you think you need. Like I said, if you want to try and hit neutral strength or go more strength, I'd run Molt Augmented and then drop Overextended in another strength mod, but I don't think she needs it. I like Arcane Avenger for bonus damage. Another Arcane that I've seen people like, but I don't own, is Arcane Fury. It's a lot of extra bonus damage, but you're already hitting in the millions. If a guy's dead, you're not going to make him deader, so that's on you. Any of the tank Arcanes are good. Grace, Guardian, Blessing are all viable in my opinion. Arcane Reaper could be interesting. I don't have mine maxed out yet. Extra health regen and armor is cool. But most of the time, if I'm running Khora, I'm running Avenger in here for the extra crit chance, even pre-patch, before the Exalted changes and buffs. This is what I was running. Arcane Avenger is my go-to. So that's my Khora build, alright? High range, low strength, okay duration, alright? Very, very good. As for our melee build, this is my big damage build. The AoE one and my big damage here for sitting in one spot are very similar. We got the scaling crit chance with Blood Rush, primed pressure points. The guys are kind of dead before you even prime them, so I wouldn't really recommend Condition Overload. I know I used it on my Atlas, but on Atlas, I think you're priming enemies with your Sentinel with my build, and you do get kind of time to go from target to target on Atlas and have the primed enemies to one-shot with Condition Overload. But on Khora, I think it's different because of your Strangle Dome and because of the AoE. You're not really priming them for Condition Overload to be useful. That's why I have Prime Pressure Point on here. The Galvanized mods, if you don't have them, run the normal versions. And I prefer Gladiator Might here just for the extra critical chance combo on your combo multiplier. I think it's useful. You do lose, what, 30%, I think it is, versus Organ Shatter. Yeah, 90 to 60. I think the utility's worth. Viral Heat here. I mean, there's nothing crazy to say about that. We're running Viral Heat. We're getting Corrosive from melee exposure. That's 3 elements. Feels great. We got extra status chance from Galvanized Elementalist here. If you don't have this, maybe run Weeping Wounds instead. And then maybe drop Glad Might for normal Elementalist. You'd have to run both, because this kind of covers Weeping Wounds and the normal melee Elementalist mod for me, in my opinion. So that's the big nuke damage build. If you're sitting in one spot for a survival mission, I'll do both. I'll run through and Exterminate with my blast build, and I'll do a survival mission with this build just to give you a little show off of both. As for my AoE build, like I said, they're extremely similar. This time I'm modding for Raw Electric, so now I can fit in Organ Shatter and Gladiator Might. Once again, it's the exact same thing. Everything's here for the same reasons. Pressure Point, because no Condition Overload, because we're not priming enemies. Blood Rush, scaling crit. Glad, scaling crit and crit damage. Organ Shatter, crit damage. Both the electric elementals, because we're using influence in this build, and Galvanized Elementalist, because electric procs do damage. They'll hurt, extra status chance. Galvanized Steel for extra crit chance and crit damage. It all makes for a good time. You know, we got melee influence here. It comes from Deimos mods from the guys down below in the zoo and whatnot. Same thing with melee exposure. That also comes from the same place. You know, go buy them from Mr. Bird. So that's what we got there. You know, can't talk about Khora without talking about our little cat here, Venari Prime. She doesn't really do much. I just have like the bare minimum on here. 2 things that I think, well, 3. Fetch, obviously. Now Packlier, it procs on your Whipclaw, so Venari will always be alive. Venari shall always have Overguard. I think that's a must use. And then Tenacious Bond for extra crit damage if you're not running it on your other pet already. They don't stack. You know, you won't get 2.4 final crit damage multiplier. So this is more crit damage, and it feels good. Everything else I just kind of have here because it's good. More HP, extra damage for her, and then she'll come back quicker if she does die. More survivability, and I have Dispensary, so I just chucked this Bond mod on because it procs a lot. And then Primed Animal Instinct because it's quality of life. Feels good to have enemy radar. Nothing crazy going there with Venari Prime. Now, Claw Time. I could invest in this. It might be worth. It is extra damage at the end of the day. If you wanted to put like 2 more Forma on, Magnetic Claws and Radon Claws go on. It's more damage. It's more status. It feels nice. I think that's like the Gigamax Claw build. You slap on these 2 here with all these mods, and you'll be cooking. Because the Call of the Week, it's basically Condition Overload for your pet. But that's what we go on for Venari. As for pets, when I am playing Khora, I'm probably farming something, so I'm running the Chesakubro for extra loot. As for this video, I'll just keep Death Cube on, because, like I said before, he's good for energy generation. Because of this mod right here, energy generator, every 10 kills that he assists in, he'll poop an orb right on your head. I think that's good to note. He doesn't spawn from the enemy. That's the 10th enemy that's assisted. It spawns from his butt. He will poop it on your head. You get energy. So it's pretty good. I talk about this build and what's going on a lot more in my 5 favorite companions video, so you can check that out there. This is also a primer for statuses. I got radiation, magnetic cold, corrosive cold, and it's pretty good. Big thing here: shivering contagion, cold damage. It'll freeze entire rooms. It's very good. Like I said, I showed off, talk about it more. 5 favorite companion videos. Go watch it. And needless to say, that is Khora. As for your weapons, run your favorite stuff. I got Praetos on here because it helps with movement. This is a big AoE gun. Velarx is a big one-shot gun. Kind of like cover all my bases here. Alright. So, I'm going to go hop in a survival mission first, and then I'll do an exterminate mission, or whatever order I decide to show you in. Who knows? So, I'll see you in both of those. Yo! So, here we are in the survival mission. Let me go get to the scrubber. We'll just camp here. Let me get my dispensary out. We'll start whipping fools to build up our combo. Alright, look at that. I'm getting ticked. I'm getting so many stray bullets. But now we got our, our anti-sea bear circle up our strangle dome. And we just kind of sit here and hit our one. It's kind of getting boned by the geography a little bit. That truck's really messing with it. Let's move over a little bit here, maybe. I think I love Eximus units now. They're like loot pinatas. They're like loot enemies from Borderlands almost. Like loot tanks. If you ever played Borderlands, that's what Eximus units feel like now. You just pop them and you get a bunch of health orbs and a bunch of energy orbs. It feels so good. I love it. But yeah. We don't have to worry about energy at all. And as you can see, we're using a lot to just slam one here and use our 4. This costs 100 energy when we use it. It's sick. And like I said, we may not be hitting the craziest numbers like we used to on Khora, but they're dead. So like, what more can you ask for? I know Warframe is kind of like a damage number go up game for a lot of people, and that's what they find fun, but I still enjoy it despite the lower numbers. And like, it doesn't matter. Like, these guys are dying anyways. Oop. Smack, smack, smack. I imagine it's not very good against this guy. It's actually respectable. No? Just me? Okay, why is he not being hit by it now? Skill issue? Can I hit this guy? Okay. Oh, I died to a heat proc. That's embarrassing. Oh well. Doesn't matter. Doesn't change anything. Just, let's pretend that didn't happen. It's kind of my fault, to be honest, for trying to poke the guys in the top of my strangle dome there. Oh, he's dead. Do you get strangle dome? Yeah. So like I said, if you wanted to be extra comfy, I would drop my Augur Reach for like adaption, or maybe my Avenger for Arcane Aegis, so you get the shield regening. Also, it's spring in Halvania, so there's all these Jade Eximuses, so those Eximi, however you want to say it. So there is that, I'm sure you've been hit by a random heat proc as well and have died from a Jade Eximus. Alright, I'm not the only one. And this guy just wants me to take care of these scrubbers, bro. But I'm Khora and I have extra loot and I'm getting extra life support drops. It doesn't matter, brother. Hopefully it doesn't take the full 5 minutes for the Acolyte to show up. Alright, let's get a round 2 on this guy in. Where's he at? Come here. Hello? Invalid target. What? You can't Whipclaw? You can Whipclaw Acolytes. Well, not Whipclaw, but I mean ensnare. The hitbox on them is very weird. It doesn't seem like it's hitting, and then it does. Maybe that's my fault. Maybe that's DE jank, Warframe jank. You know, classic. I am not sure what is going on because we beat the absolute crap out of that guy up there. But this one just does not want to get hit with my claw. Oh, and here comes the Acolyte. I think after the Acolyte kill, which is like the important thing, I'll just cut straight the Exterminate mission. There we go. I think you have to put the cage around him to get the shared damage. Alright, where's this guy? Oh, we can wrap that guy. He's stunned. He's dead. He died to the slash proc. I probably honestly only needed to hit him once, and he would have died to the slash proc. Yeah. But I handled myself fine here. I'll see you when you Exterminate with the Influence electric build. And we'll get cooking there. And I won't die once. I won't get hit by anything. Oh, see ya. Alright, here we are. Steel Path, avoid Exterminate. We gotta scale up our electric damage here. And get some influence procs going. I think I'll like just call it here after the Acolyte dies, cause I think that's like the most important part of this kind of build is to kill the Acolyte. And but I mean, yeah, the AoE does fine. It's not much different damage wise compared to the what do you call it, my survival build. The reason I use that specifically and no influence on that build is because you get so much AoE with influence, is that I think you kill the guys before they're even affected by your dome. And you don't get the bonus loot from your Pilfering Strangle dome. So I guess it's more of like a personal preference thing, if you're farming loot or not. If you're farming loot, I'd use my first build. If you're not, I would use this one. Because it is more AoE for similar damage, but lower damage. We're about halfway. So the guy should spawn soon, the little freak. Hopefully we don't get violence, you know, he disables your abilities and whatnot. But we'll see what we get here. Big AoE. Absolute bopper. Yeah, but Khora could do this before, but it's just so much more accessible now. With the Arcanes and like just the moddable Whipclaw by itself. That's kind of like the going rate for like all the exalted frames. Is these things were possible before, but you had to jump through a lot of hoops, and now it's just more accessible and a lot more enjoyable for the working man, the common man. Oh, I got hit by another heat proc. I'm not dying to this one. There we go. Oh, this way. Okay, I thought for sure we were gonna have to go to another elevator. No Acolyte spawn? Hello? Any Acolytes? What? Yeah, but as you can see, this one is just as good as my corrosive one. Alright, no Acolyte. We're out of here anyways. I think that was like, what, less than 3 minutes? I'm gonna guess 2:45. Oh, never mind. 3 minutes and 2 seconds. Well, that's it for me. See ya.